You're listening to Exploring Anime with Friends, a JoeMama for Real podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and all major podcasting networks. I'm your host, JoeMama! And today's friend is my wife and co-host, Sarah. Say hello to everyone, Sarah.
Hi, everyone.
How's it going today?
It's going pretty good.
You excited for today's episode?
Yes, I definitely am.
Today, we will be exploring the world of A Sign of Affection, a romance slice of life released in January of 2024. For the next 20 to 25 minutes, we'll be exploring the first season of A Sign of Affection. First, we will take a look at one of our two leads, Yuki, and learn a little bit about our female protagonist. Afterwards, we will take a look at our second lead, Itsuomi, and take a look at our male protagonist. Then we will meet some of the friends and people that influenced their journey together, and finally, cover their love story. And remember, if you like what you hear today, follow us on our social media, linked in the show notes. Like, subscribe, and follow. All right, talk to us. Let's just dive right in and learn a little bit about one of our two leads, our female protagonist, Yuki.
Yuki is a very, I want to start by saying she's very sweet. She's very kind. She's kind of innocent. The most important thing is kind of what makes the show is she's also pretty much completely deaf. She's pretty independent. She's living her life. She's doing her thing, but she was born with basically congenital hearing loss, so she's never really heard things. And she's just grown up to be this, again, kind, sweet person.
Yeah, and she has to wear hearing aids just to feel the vibrations in the area because her hearing loss is so severe, she can't even feel the vibrations without the hearing aid on. And that's, it kind of really sets the stage for the whole, what feels like a movie. It doesn't feel like a 12-episode anime. It feels like a 5.5-hour movie, right?
Yeah, I don't know how that makes it, I never thought about that until you just said it, but you're absolutely right. It does more feel like a movie.
If they never release a second season of it, honestly, good.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to know more about how all the relationships really play out, but I am content, yes.
So I think they wrap everything up very nicely. Yeah, but a little more about Yuki, her personality overall, her journey. Tell us some of the journey that got her to this point.
So obviously, as she's growing up, she goes to a school for deaf children, and she makes friends, of course, but she just kind of still wants a little more. She wants to be involved a little more. She goes through life, she attends university. It's not a university for deaf people. People of all walks of life attend this university. And she just wants to, live a normal life and experience everything for herself.
Yeah, no, she's going past everything. She's breaking down the barriers of what other people would refer to as a handicap, but she is actually going out into the world and she's trying to make the best possible life for herself. And along the way, she does get some help. She does have someone who has to take notes for her in class, and that is a friend by the name of Reen that we will meet later on, but she plays a very vital role in helping Yuki adapt to the social life of college. Yuki just continues to experience more and more. She doesn't want to silently watch the world go by her. She wants to be a full participant. And with the help of Rin, she's actually getting there. But the funny thing is, there are still many things that present obstacles for her because right in the opening scene, she's on a train and she's headed back to her place of residence and someone approaches her because this college that she goes to, it's a very international school. So many different people with many different languages there, all coming around to the area. So it's a very worldwide cultural area. Someone approaches her asking for directions in a completely different language. So not only would she not understand, but she can't actually communicate that she can't even read their lips. They're holding a map and she knows that they clearly need help, but she can't do anything because she knows they don't know sign language. And that's when our second protagonist steps in. Meet Itsuomi. And finish off this scene for us, Sarah.
So this much taller gentleman steps in. He obviously realizes that she's got something going on. And he explains to this random dude how he needs to get to where he's going. And this gentleman's name is Itsuomi. In this scene, Itsuomi takes a second and he realizes that, that quickly that, she can't hear. So he actually takes the time to, try to make his mouth, bigger when he's talking, and he uses simplified words, basically. As a whole, Itsuomi, good dude. I would love to meet the guy. He's very worldly, but in the aspect of he's been places. That's his thing. He loves to go to other countries. he loves learning new languages. She'll like scroll through social media and there'll be pictures of him helping little kids in some like third world nation kind of look to it. And that's who he is. He's got a big heart. And at first, Yuki kind of thinks, well, maybe he's being nice and all this stuff. Maybe he's being this way just because he wants to learn sign language and like expand his horizons. But thankfully, it's not just that. He genuinely likes her.
Yeah, but even going back before that, like you mentioned some of the languages, he's completely fluent in Japanese, German, and English. And he's learning both Spanish and French. And by the end of I'm going to call it a movie because I get it that it's 12 episodes that are 24 minutes apiece, but it feels like you're watching just a long movie, like a Lord of the Rings extended cut. And it's very easy to watch it all the way through. So I'm going to refer to it as a movie from here on in, even though it's not. But he's pretty fluent in sign language by the end of the whole thing. And this all comes from when he was younger. Father moved from Japan to Germany, and he was raising him there. And the young Itsuomi, he goes to an international school while there, and he's in an international class, and he's just learning to adapt and everything. And it's rough for him at first. But then there was one day at recess, and I didn't think that this character would come up at all, but the character's name is Christoph. It's another small boy, and he kicks a soccer ball over his way, and he lets him know that it's mine in German. Itsuomi just eventually blurts out, doing his best to speak the German that's not his first language, and saying, more or less, I want to join in. And at that moment, Itsuomi's full worldview changed when the boy accepted him, because he realized that learning languages and discovering other parts of the world wasn't for the sake of knowledge. It wasn't for the sake of knowing. It wasn't for the sake of doing something. It was for being as much of a part as everything as possible.
Yeah.
So his worldview changed that day to where he wants to be able to communicate with everyone and share his love and his gifts and his talents with everyone. It really shows some depth to the character, and that's a scene that happens much later in the series, but at the same time, it makes you realize what makes Itsuomi tick, and he's a genuine, caring being who just wants to know everything, explore everything, and be everything to everyone. And when you're seeing his interactions in the hallway, he's talking to students from all around the world, all different languages. Just a little bit about that, like his overall charisma.
I mean, he seems just to be a likable guy, and it really helps to be able to know what people are saying. He's friendly. He's got a very calm, I want to almost say soothing demeanor. Like, he's not all in your face and, like, being loud and obnoxious. He's very, very chill, very quiet, very friendly, very outgoing.
You say he's not all up in your face. His demeanor isn't all up in your face, but he is a very personable person. Like, he doesn't hesitate to put his arm around a casual friend. He doesn't hesitate to get up in Yuki's face to talk to her, to lift her
adjust her head a little,
lift her chin up. And this is even before they're officially dating. Lift her chin up so that she can see that he's talking to her.
Yeah.
Like, I
mean, that's fair.
One thing that Yuki comments on multiple times, he's like, he's very invasive and like, but yet somehow it always made her feel safe.
Yeah, good vibe check.
If you like what you're hearing so far, you should definitely watch this for yourself. It's on Crunchyroll, home to over 1,000 anime and simulcast, both subbed and dubbed. And if you like what you're hearing from us, definitely like, subscribe, and follow on social media. But a love story isn't complete with just two characters.
Correct.
Because there's always other characters that are influencing, others that are along the journey, encouraging, opposing. And let's start here with Rin.
Yeah.
All right, talk to us about Rin.
Rin is Yuki's friend. She's the one that's kind of helping take notes during class. She obviously knows that Yuki is deaf, of course. And they're really close. One time Rin's like, hey, I want to try to meet this guy. He works over here. You should come with me.
And then she also points, and the guy who helped you out, who you're kind of crushing on, Itsuomi, also works there. My guy is his boss.
Rin and Yuki have a really good relationship like that, and so they end up both going. And they have a pretty good time, and I don't know how much I want to, like, jump into with that.
Oh, well, I mean, talked about when...
It's all first episode
stuff
right there.
This is just first episode. So talk about when
that's fair.
Rin and Yuki went to meet Kyuya and Itsuomi at the restaurant where they work.
So they go to the restaurant. There's like a small like bar area where they're just kind of relaxing in. And they're just kind of hanging out, having a good old time. But like a group of strangers / foreigners come in. and Itsuyomi goes to like bust the table basically, and one of them gives Itsuyomi a kiss on the cheek. So for a second, Yuki's like freaking out, like, oh wait, is he in a relationship? Like, what's going on? What is this? And then she's like, oh wait, maybe that's their way of saying hi, because that's acceptable in some cultures, just to give a quick little peck on the cheek. But at first she's like, the panic that set in, it just kind of sent me for a second. I felt bad for her.
But yeah, overall, Rin is a very bubbly personality. She's sharing everything with Yuki. She just goes from one thing to another. She's helping her in the classes. She's looking for opportunities to get Yuki together alone with Itsuyomi. She's looking for opportunities to talk to Yuki about her potential relationship with Kyuya. She is very excitable, and she shares so much with her. And Kyuya shares so much with Itsuyomi, too.
Yeah.
Like, the first one that Itsuyomi confides in when he talks about Yuki is is his buddy, and they will do some double dates along the way. And he's a lot more just chill, go with the flow, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Now he's a little older than the average character in this, so it doesn't cover his age or anything, but he's older than Itsuyomi, who's 22, and we know Rin's 20 and Yuki's 19. So besides that, I don't think we have ages for anyone else.
Yeah.
But the one thing that we do learn about him is that he has been burnt a lot by the dating scene as a whole. Mm-hmm. So he is waiting just for the right person. And, I mean, he thinks he's found her, but we'll cover a little bit more in the relationship aspect at the end. Another very important character, almost like an antagonist to the storyline.
Definitely.
Talk to us a little bit about Oshi.
So, Oshi gives all the appearance of being a good dude. He really does. And I worded it that way very specifically. He's Yuki's friend growing up. They lived close by. He actually had like huge crush on her when they were little, to the point where he actually went out of his way to like learn sign language, which is fantastic.
But it wasn't just to try to win her. It was because he loved the thrill that he got from being able to communicate with someone in a completely different language in front of other people without them understanding.
So like, that's where they at.
He genuinely fell in love with sign language. He's actually going to school to be a sign language interpreter. Yeah. He's the only one we know what they're going to school for, by the way.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. The biggest red flag, honestly, if I can go into that part, that happens with Oshi, is where like he sees Yuki. I don't quite remember the full circumstance, but something happens. Either she's with Itsuyomi or she gets like startled by something because she can't hear. And his mindset is, why can't she just stay at home and be safe in like a glass bubble? That's not like verbatim or anything, but when he said that, I was like, oh, this is one of those kind of guys. Okay, we don't like him anymore. Because you shouldn't be limited by that kind of stuff. You start to like him a little at the beginning, and then you start to hate him. And then as the relationship develops between Itsuyomi and Yuki, you start to hate him a little more, then a little less. It's
then
weird.
You start to understand where he's coming from. And then there's a moment at the end where, later in the season, where him and Itsuyomi actually end up going out with each other to clear the air and everything. And you realize that he genuinely cares about Yuki.
Yeah.
And that he's the guy who just didn't speak up quick enough. Not saying that Yuki would be better off with him, because Yuki is 100% better off with Itsuyomi.
Absolutely.
But you start to feel a little bit of sympathy for him.
Yeah.
And realize that there's a book that he looks to purchase towards the beginning, and he doesn't get it. And he's in a scene at the end when everything's resolving. And I don't want to talk too much about everything, but someone says to him, "Are you finally going to get that book today?" And he's like, Yes, I am. So you see the journey of growth in him from the beginning to the end. And just kind of a very fascinating character. I will say, at one point in time, we were both so convinced that either he was going to punch Itsuyomi or Itsuyomi was going to punch him. Sarah was on team Itsuyomi giving the punch. Yeah. I was on team Oshi giving the punch. And we're not going to let you know if that happens because, frankly, I'm going to say he learns a lesson, but I'm not going to say how he goes about learning the lesson, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to watch the anime for that. But meanwhile, we need to also talk about Shin and Emma and the relationship that they had with Itsuyomi before we even get there. The three of them went to high school together. Yeah. Talk to us about that.
The three of them went to high school together. They were like three musketeers. They were good friends all together. Unfortunately, not known to all of them, there was a bit of a love triangle.
Except where it wasn't.
Except it wasn't. It was like
there
love.
were two love arrows pointing in opposite directions.
So, yeah, that's what it was. So Itsuyomi was oblivious to any of this, but Emma liked Itsuyomi, and Sheen liked Emma.
Itsuyomi knew it too. It's just he didn't have any feelings for Emma whatsoever. And maybe he didn't realize it in high school, but it goes even into this whole thing while they're at college, because they recur. And at this point, Sheen is doing hair design work for celebrities and everything. And,
yep, he's famous like that.
And Emma's just kind of like party girl.
Yeah,
but
yeah, pretty much.
Just with Sheen.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't go out anywhere with anyone because she's so convinced that Itsuyomi is her guy, to the point where Sheen has completely given up on Emma ever being his girl.
Part of that, too, was also that Sheen and Itsuyomi were good friends. Sheen didn't want to ruin it for Itsuyomi if Itsuyomi really, ever reciprocated the love for Emma.
Yeah, so it was one of those things. Sheen keeps on waiting for Itsuyomi to reciprocate that love to Emma, so that Emma can have her happily ever after, because he is looking out for his two closest friends.
Yeah.
And one of the things that's pointed out to him by Kyuya is that, well, who's looking after you?
Yeah.
And at this point in time, it's already official. Like, it's not widely known, but Itsuyomi's already brought in Yuki to Sheen at this point in time to show them, hey, this is my girlfriend. But at this point in time, Sheen doesn't want to tell that because he is so convinced that it's just going to break Emma's heart. It's going to shatter her world. So he can't bring himself to say that until that one day when Kyuya says, well, who's looking out for you? Respect yourself enough. You need to value yourself enough. Because as much as this is about, it's a romance and it's about love, it's about discovering self-value for a lot of these characters.
Yes, absolutely.
Learn to see things just a little bit off of your normal perspective so that you can grow and learn. Because I'll tell you what, the only character that's kind of the same at end as they are at the beginning is probably Itsuyomi. And that's because he was so at peace with who he was before the whole thing began.
Yeah, that's
and
fair.
It's not that there isn't development and growth even in him. When they officially go out on their first date to a botanical garden, Yuki looks as Itsuyomi's looking around the wisteria and everything, and as he's taking it in, and how for the first time she's like seeing true wonder and amazement in his eyes. Mm-hmm. And she is like, I finally understand what it's like to see someone have their breath taken away.
Yeah.
And that was just something
moment.
that really, because she realized that despite the fact that he's traveled everywhere, he's traveled all around Europe, all around Asia, like poor part where children need help, and to places where he can just make friends around his age. He's seen all of that, and yet he never fully took in the wonder of wisteria branches hanging over a boardwalk pavilion of sorts. And he got to see something new, and she got to see him see something new. And one of my favorite lines that really kind of summarizes their relationship, and I think it's in the same episode, is she's kind of like, if we only get so much luck in our lives, I feel like I've used all mine up already.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is a beautiful moment in that series.
Yeah, so it's at that point in time where you really see it blossom into something special. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about their relationship.
So it's,
Being that I've now stolen the first date.
Right. It's a beautiful thing to watch. It really is. Because, they're kind of, they fit nice. It's comfortable. It's relaxing. It's soothing. It's just so nicely done, to be completely honest. And yeah, there are times where Yuki's just kind of like, why is he so close to me? Why did he put his hand there? And it's not completely innocent. Completely innocent. That's what I'll go with.
You know, it is completely innocent, and it's also uplifting, too. He convinces Kyuya and Ren to join them on a sign language boot camp where they go out into the wild. Mm-hmm. And that's where Ren and Kyuya officially realize that they have it for each other, and they become a couple, too. So now it's more like a double date at this point in time. And there's just so much to talk about. I think the one thing that I'm going to talk about is he respects her boundaries.
Yes.
He might get up in her face, but he knows she has a curfew.
Yeah.
So she's home by the time the curfew is supposed to be. He doesn't try to, yes, he'll hold her to the last minute, but she's home at that time. Mm-hmm. He respects her boundaries. They make a sign for if they want to give each other a kiss, like a simple little gentle pinch on the cheek.
Yeah.
So that way, if the other one's not comfortable at that moment, they back off. There was one point in time where they thought of kissing in the botanical gardens. They realized they weren't comfortable with it, so they respected each other's boundaries. So the relationship is not only heartfelt and beautiful, but it's also respectful too, which I think is just kind of amazing. The two of them share so much respect with other people throughout the course of the thing. It was just beautifully written. Was it a little Hallmarky at times? Yes.
I love Hallmark. Don't judge me.
It was very Hallmarky at times. But we also got character development. Anything you really want to add to really summarize and wrap up the whole everything?
Kind of related, but unrelated at the same time. I want to point out that the imagery is absolutely beautiful. Like every once in a while,
oh my goodness,
you'll just get like this splash of what I'm just going to call watercolor, playful watercolors. And it'll just be like in the perfect moment. Suddenly there'll be like this splash in the background of this beautiful color that just fits the mood. And I really loved that part of it where it just added another like little layer, a little bit of texture to it.
It was always great when you saw Yuki splash pink, because Yuki has pink hair and Itsuyomi has silver hair. We didn't mention that all these people, like
they all have dyed hair.
Half of them have their hair styled regularly, but when Yuki's pink splashes with Itsuyomi's blue, and then it kind of merges into that purple in the center.
No, the imagery's beautiful.
The imagery really helps to set the scenes very well. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, this is if you're into any form of like romance or romance anime at all, or even like just heartwarming, wholesome slice of life anime.
Yeah, definitely.
A Sign of Affection is a must watch in my opinion. And as somebody who's not super into that, I still think that A Sign of Affection is a must watch too. I very much appreciate it. I actually have a level of regret leaving it off my top 5 from 2024. And I think I would actually redo that list a little if I had a chance to do it now, because that was after watching everything once, and I've since then rewatched many of those a second time. This one actually grew on me the second time. How about you, hon?
I would agree with that, definitely. The first watch was good. You always catch something in the second watch, but every once in a while, like, you really, really catch it.
Yeah. You put it in your top 5 before. You put it in your 5th spot for 2024. Would you keep it there? Would you up it? What do you think?
I mean, I would have to, like, review my top 5, like, all over again, probably, to really give you a good answer. What was my 4? Do you remember that?
Go-Go Loser Ranger.
Oh, I loved Go-Go Loser Ranger so much. I would, honestly, I'm sorry, Sign of Fiction. I would probably keep it at 5, mainly because if Go-Go Loser Ranger was my number 4, then 3, 2, and 1 were probably spot on still. Either way, it definitely made my top 5. It's definitely solidified in my top 5 for that one.
So once again, we covered our 2 main protagonists, Yuki and Itsuyomi. We met some of the people that influenced our journey together, and then we took a look at their love story and the love stories of others that they inspired. We hope you had as much fun exploring the world of A Sign of Affection as we did, and you consider watching this anime. So if you like what you heard today, make sure you listen to us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you stream your podcast. Listen to all of our J-Mill for Real podcasts. And hit us up on social media, like, subscribe, and follow. Once again, this was Exploring Anime with Friends. Let's explore together. And now, for a word from our sponsors. Binbuster. Live from YouTube, it's Tuesday night, the call sign of the Binbuster YouTube channel. Once you hear this, you know you're about to embark on a journey through pop culture, movies, comics, and more. Buckle up and enjoy the ride every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. EST. Poppin' Cinema with JoeMama and friends. Showcasing the power of cinema, join JoeMama as he introduces different friends each week to a movie they have not seen before. Popping their cinematic cherry as they talk about the movie they just watched every Tuesday at midnight.